Time for us to talk about something else called Podwave Studios. With us is the guy who owns it and who set it up, Ben Kosterich. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you here. Now, Ben, what's Podwave Studio? What is podcasting? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, in the simplest sense, it is a studio for hire that is encouraging people to create their own podcast, which is
What is a
audio.
podcast?
Oh, it really can be anything, but it's really just storytelling at the nuts and bolts of it. And what we're seeing is everyone wants to start and do a podcast, and especially in Perth,
Well,
the infrastructure is limited.
It's become so popular.
Yeah.
So many people that I know that used to work in radio are now doing their own podcasts and putting it out there. So is it because the technology's changed, we can now have really good quality podcasts?
Yeah, and I think the gatekeeping now, everyone used to thought, radio and television now with, the advance of YouTube, Spotify, Apple, because distribution is so accessible now, people can get access and do it themselves and create those communities and tap into followers globally a lot easier, which is just something that I don't think many people had thought about. So
How hard is it to podcast, or do you help the people? Say I come to you and I say, look, I've got this idea. I want to talk about a television program and I've got 6 friends of mine. Do you help put it all
absolutely.
together?
Yeah. I think a lot of people go in with the assumption that it's just like having a chat, and that is in the purest sense, but there's a lot more to think about the media training behind it and how to actually active listen. And that's something that doesn't just happen overnight. So a lot of that build up, I generally like buying into people's stories because that's what people love is storytelling.
So
And I want to help people do that. And that's what we
sort
do.
of people come to you at Podwave?
Oh, everyone. In the easiest sense, we've got, PTs, we've got doctors, lawyers, legal professionals, we've
Can
got
you do
businessmen.
fun stuff as well?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's all serious stuff.
Yeah.
What if someone's wants to do movie reviews or
Absolutely.
movies, talk about music?
Yep.
Can they do that?
Yeah. It's really just studios to hire. And we only started in January this year,
Yep.
and our first one's in West Perth, and we're scaling quickly to have 3 more, hopefully by the end of the year.
What have
But
you
it's
got?
for anyone.
Tell us about your studios, because I know we've got some overlay footage.
Yes.
Tell us what gear you've got and what sort of studios.
Yeah, so the studio that we set up, the infrastructure, there's the top line microphones, the Shure SM7Bs, which if anyone watches the podcast, a lot of them use them across the set. There we go. There's me lurking in the background being a producer. And then we have a variety of cameras. So the whole
So you can
program is set
record
up.
it even on camera as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So we have the lighting, the cameras, and the audio. And when people rock up, it's pretty much a plug and play. So you just sit down, you focus on it, and by the end of it, you've got a pretty much near live, perfectly produced podcast.
So you provide the studio, you provide the equipment, you provide the guidance and support as well. And what if someone's never done any production? Say I want to go in and I want to do a movie review show every week, and I have no idea how to use the gear. Do you run it all for us?
Yes.
So you do it all?
Yeah, so the options, it's all flexible based on what people want. So some people might have an inclination to do it themselves, and that's where we go, sure, the studio's yours. If you want a producer to make sure nothing does go wrong, then we've got that. And the next steps, which is the editing, the sending it out to the World Wide Web, which you don't hear very often these days now, but all of that, we can sort of build it around whatever they want, because it is a daunting experience. And I mean, the scary fact is that I think if you make it past 20 episodes, you're in the top 2% of
That's
podcasts.
fantastic. So if you make more than 20,
Yeah.
you're doing all right.
Because a lot of people stop because it gets too difficult or it's too complicated and the equipment.
What's the benefit? What's the advantage of doing podcasting over the old technology?
I mean, really, it's resonating with your audience. I feel that storytelling is something that everyone likes. And depending on what community you've got, you've really got this ability now to capture high quality video, audio,
And it's pretty slick.
and use it for multiple purposes. So
Yeah.
I say to everyone, you can record for an hour and you've got maybe a month's worth of content. You can post these short things on TikTok, Instagram. You can convert it to blogs. You can have written. You're hitting all the senses, and it's all from potentially an hour of talking, which
So-
just sounds so insane.
I guess
But
if you ever wanted to be a radio star or a TV star, this could be your entry.
Your ticket
a ticket in.
Mm.
And how long, is there a minimum time that they need to book? Can they do a 15-minute podcast, a half an hour? What's the usual?
So we really try and do an hour minimum.
Yep.
We find that by the time if you're doing it with someone else, you want a few minutes to sort of make people feel comfortable, because it is also, once you see there's cameras, some people get a little bit jittery. So we sort of operate on an hour minimum, and that typically is enough. But we've had groups do full days, 6 hours, and I commend them for that, because I don't know how you can speak for 6 hours straight. But some people can, and we've got the facilities to do it.
So would you urge people to give it a go? If they've got the inclination, they've got the idea, do they need to contact you?
Yeah, again, I'm more than happy literally just speaking with people because I feel it's, especially now that its distribution is free and we've got that ability, you'd be surprised at by doing something, everyone wants to be viral, but how your small community will go, oh, I loved your podcast. And there's almost that recognition of, oh, hey, I gave it a go. And yeah, my neighbor or someone who's going like, hey, I like that.
And you can run it as a social thing and pay for that, or you can actually run it as a commercial venture
Yes.
and hopefully make a lot of money out of it as
Yes.
well, which a lot of people have done. Website, how do people get a hold of you? What's your website?
Yeah, so we're podwavestudios.au. So if you Google it, it'll come up. We're on all the socials, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And really it's me and my business partner. So if you message us, we're pretty quick to get back to you. And yeah, it's more about just reaching out and giving it a crack for yourself. And hopefully you enjoy yourselves. But yeah, any questions, just feel free to email us, support@podwavestudios.au. So,
Thank you very much. Ben, look, I
pleasure.
wish you all the best. Look forward to hearing more about you. We'll get you back on the show. And if you're interested out there in podcasting your own stuff, whether it's legal, whether it's medical, whether it's about food, whether it's about movie, television shows, anything at all, contact Ben Kosterich, of course, at Podwave, and he'll help you as well. And I didn't ask you, is it expensive or is it, people can negotiate a rate?
Well, I mean, it depends. We sort of go $2.50 an hour.
That's not bad.
And it sort of scales up depending on what you need.
There
But
you go.
I'm all about helping people start, so I'm not trying to price gouge and
No,
destroy them.
$2.50 an hour is
Yeah.
pretty good. Give it a go. If you've got a plan, if you've got an idea, and you want to see it happen, speak to Ben at Podwave, and he'll help you as well. Ben, thank you for coming in today.
No, thank you so much for having me. It was
All
a
the
pleasure.
best.
Thank you.
Podcasting away
Yeah.
at Podwave Studios in West Perth. It is West Perth, you said?
Yes, and
Beautiful.
soon to be West Leaderville.
And
so.
West Leaderville as
Yeah.
well. Perfect. Soon up in Brabham maybe as well.